right, so here we are at Smalls with Spike Wilner. I got it right, yes. I've met you before at Mesro when my mother was performing a duet.
Right.
Yeah. Anyhow, so here we are in Smalls. I have to say one thing. The thing that I noticed the most during the pandemic was that you guys were already set up for the online, for people to be able to see things streamed.
Right, that's true.
So tell me how it was for you going through this pandemic.
Well, the pandemic shut down New York City.
Yeah.
I remember in March of 2020 when the governor shut all the businesses down in the city, and quite honestly, I was very scared because I know in American history that was never happened before, where the government shut down the private businesses. So I knew it was very serious. At first, I believed it only to be for a week or two. I didn't think it would be that long.
Wow. Okay.
And then, of course, it started to stretch on. In the first couple of months of the pandemic, I took my wife and my baby and we went to stay in a friend's house outside of the city, just because I wasn't sure what was going to actually even happen in Manhattan. And what happened in Manhattan was it was abandoned essentially and deserted because no one was around. Everybody stayed inside. It was a very scary time. When June rolled around, it became clear to me that I had to come back and take care of something with the clubs, because what was happening was the businesses were forced shut, but we were still expected to pay the bills as if we were operating, including the rent, the insurance, the electricity, and also, of course, a payroll for our staff that was necessary to keep them there, even if they weren't working, so that they would stay, and all the other bills. And so very, very quickly, after a couple of months, there was an enormous drain on our resources financially, and many other businesses, of course, in New York as well. Some businesses were better suited than us in terms of their situation. Some owned the property. In our case, we really did. We live not. We don't have a big cushion for our operations, so we really count on operating. And so what happened was I realized that we had to do something quickly, and I had a couple of things that were very lucky. One being that I had created a not-for-profit arts foundation a few years earlier with the idea that it was vague. I formed the legal corporation, but I didn't actually put it into effect. I was just thinking about what could be done with benefits for musicians, sponsorship of projects, that kind of thing. I didn't think of it much than a small idea I had at the time. The other thing we had going for us, of course, was something that's been going on a long time at Smalls, which is our live streaming and archiving process. So in September of 2007, when I first became the partner down here with Mitchell Borden, who was the creator of Smalls, I had a very strong sense of history, and I believed that the best way to preserve the history of Smalls Jazz Club was to record every show, regardless, and to document who was the musicians on the show, what did they play, who were they. And on top of that, we would also send out a live stream. Now this was at that time, in 2007, it was very new technology. I had heard about it from, I knew the Knitting Factory had done it once, and the technology was not good enough for them to really do it. And I had another friend who was a computer guy that would say, why don't we try? And we did it, and it actually ended up becoming very popular because we would just, on our website, stream every night for free. I didn't even realize the impact it was having on a worldwide scale for a while. With the archiving, we record every show, and very quickly I had a huge amount of recordings. So we designed, I should say, myself and my computer guy, a website where we put the content of these recordings onto it's now on a cloud server, and made it available through a database that people can search by name or date or instrument and see who played and watch the video and hear the shows. And right now we're closing in on about 40,000 recordings. I've recorded every single show at Smalls Jazz Club since September of 2007 to this very day, and also at Mesro at this time, with the exception of maybe some law shows or a few exceptions that we made. There was, in the beginning, when we first started this live streaming video, there were musicians that were ready to kill me. They were going to take me into court over it. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, are these shows available to stream for free, or since the pandemic, did you change it where you wanted to be able to raise money for the musicians?
Okay, so the current situation of our archive there's two components. There's the live show, which we have every night. Now that's always free, so you can sign up on our website and watch the live streams without any charge whatsoever, and you can also watch it on Facebook or on YouTube. So we always use all the social media platforms and broadcast the shows. That does not cost anything to watch the show. If you would like to go to our audio-video archive and explore the archive and enjoy the music there, we're asking you to become a member of our foundation and to make a minimum donation of $10 per year. People choose to donate more if they like, but the minimum donation is $10, which gets you an unlimited access to the archive per year.
That's amazing.
And the funds collected really go to the maintenance of the website and the servers cost, and it's actually kind of become more and more expensive as we just operate this website. So that's a big part of what we're just trying to do. Now, what happened during COVID was that it became clear that we needed to appeal to people for help. At first, when COVID first hit and I was sitting in this house with my wife and my baby, I was very sad. It was a very dark period, and I didn't know what to do, honestly. I was very, very sad. And I got a phone call in the night from Wynton Marsalis, who called me and said, "Spike, we have to help the musicians. They need help." And it charged me up with the idea, and I have to give Wynton a lot of credit because he's a real hero of this music and for inspiring to move forward. And I decided at that time that we would try to raise some money. And another very miraculous thing happened, which was that in the first week after COVID, the rock star Billy Joel decided that he would like to give us a cash gift of $25,000.
Wow.
And this was through a friend of ours who knows the lawyer Billy, and so it was just this kind of thing, and it came out of the blue, really. And I wrote Mr. Joel a letter, and he I've heard nothing but good things about the guy, actually.
I'm the blues man.
Yeah, he's a musician's musician. I know guys in his band, but I never met him personally. But anyway, he gave us this money, and I said, this is what I'm going to do with this money. I'm going to raise money to pay the expenses of maintaining the club, and in addition, have one band per day do a live performance from the club, and we will pay them the proper wages for a band being played at Smalls, and the club will be closed. And we will do this until we're allowed to be open again. And I called it Get the Cats Working Again. And what happened was it was really quite dramatic. The first show we did was with Joe Farnsworth, Jeremy Pelt, Peter Bernstein, Peter Washington, and Anthony Wanzi on the piano. And we were scared. We really didn't know what was going to happen, and no one knew. But when we went live, you could see and feel the numbers on Facebook, the comments, and the number of viewers. It was really tremendous. And then I paid them correctly, and then we did this night after night after night. And I'll tell you what happened was that we started getting donations from people to support us. And it became a thing where we didn't get big donations. The gift from Billy Joel for $25,000 was kind of exceptional. We were mostly getting like $20, $50, $100, $10. But what happened was we did start raising enough money to do what we did, which was A, pay the rent on the clubs so that they could be maintained and all the expenses. Not to mention keep a shoestring staff, right? Sure. And then to pay a band a night to play. And on top of that, we did some other charitable work for musicians, which was there were a lot of musicians that were in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
They couldn't even buy their groceries, let alone pay their rent. And so we started giving away money to, I won't say to whom out of privacy.
No, I heard you did that. I thought it was wonderful.
And it was a wonderful gesture from the jazz world community that supported us. And then what happened was in 2021, in February, the governor of the state allowed restaurants to open again in a very limited way. And we decided to try that as a restaurant. We were obligated to sell food because of the COVID rules. Very strange rules and a lot of strict regulations with barriers that we had in here. We were only allowed 15%, capacity.
Right.
The other thing that happened was once we were open again to the public, even in the most limited way, we were no longer allowed to use funds from the foundation for our operation. That became that's the laws that you can't do it. That when we were closed and the club was closed and we were doing a closed show, it was a different thing. But once people were allowed to come participate, then it became from our legal obligations, we were no longer allowed to use that fund. So what happened with those funds is we kind of set them aside I set them aside for the time being without trying, because we started to focus on reopening. From February of 2021, it was a slow process of renewal where first they gave us 25% capacity, and then in June 50% capacity, and then finally, and the whole time we had to check for everyone's COVID pass, everyone had to be masked. There was a lot of strict regulations, but regardless, people still came.
Yeah.
And musicians still played, and it grew and grew and grew. And then now we're at the progress where people are vaccinated, people are not afraid.
Yeah.
The mask rules have been let down.
Yeah.
And New York is finally starting to feel again a little bit like it's back. Now, the clubs now are doing fantastic. They're filled
so
night
good.
after night with crowds, and also the musicians are on a very high level. The level of music we have right now at Smalls and Mesro is unprecedented, in my opinion, in terms of really great artists playing night after night after night, and we're live streaming it, and we're archiving it, and it really feels good. And one positive note, which is what I was discussing with you earlier, is the surplus funds that we have from the foundation that were raised by our supporters, we've decided to use as grants for qualified. We created what's called the Smalls Live Living Masters series.
Nice.
And we've chosen a number of older musicians that are still alive with us. We want to honor them before they depart. And we've been giving them a considerable cash gift. And then we've been recording them as well, so it's been a very positive usage of the funds. We have a number of really great artists that we've already recorded and sponsored. And I was thinking about your mother, Toshiko, as a perfect candidate for this very project, because it's a great use of the funds, because the funds were raised from the love and support of the jazz world. And what better way to give it back? And that's where we are now. So that's the story of the COVID. We survived it somehow. It's really, truthfully, I have to say, it's a miracle that we are here. And the reason why we are here is because people really cared. And it's an example of people coming together in little ways, with little donations, and the musicians were so brave, and the people that came as fans who would wear the mask and sit there anyway to hear the music, they were very brave, and my own staff of brave people, and we all got COVID. We all got it. Right in that first week when they said it's going to come and everyone's going to get sick, we all got it.
Wow.
To this day. I think I got it twice, actually. I mean, we definitely got hit by that thing down here, but people survived it. It was a dangerous situation, and unfortunately some people lost their lives. I lost my father, for example.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This year from COVID.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Last year, I should say. It was, among other tragedies in my life, that was a big one. But it was a big price. I don't know. It feels like we went through some kind of war or something. I feel like, and sometimes I feel like I'm in, what they call post-traumatic stress disorder. Where I still see New York all. It was crazy. It was like boarded up and gangs running and everyone's scared and no one there. It was very strange. Very strange in New York. I hope I never see again.
Yeah. Downtown especially was affected, I think, more than any other area.
The entire.
Yeah. Well, you made it, and I'm so glad to hear that it's filling up. That you've got great musicians playing here. Where do you see Smalls going from here? Well, I mean, if I'm just going on where we are right now, I'd say that we've reached a point of grace. I think Smalls Jazz Club started with its humble roots. My wonderful partner, Mitch Borden, who created this club in 1994, had a vision of it as a place for musicians, a refuge for them, and a place for inexpensive quality jazz. That vision and that feeling is still something that I say permeates this club, although we're adapting to the new stricter rules that we have to follow in this society. So we try to keep that feeling of the fellowship of the musicians and that family, as well as the importance of the artists and the passion of the fans, but still also try to be orderly. And we still have jam sessions every single night. There's still a lot of musicians that come to hang out every night. So I'd say as long as we can keep it going for the time being, everything's going to be fine. And I have to say that even if they got us down to 15% capacity, we were still surviving. They can't kill this music. They can't kill jazz because we're a tenacious spirit, of human spirit. But
I'd like to open another club, honestly. I have this idea. I was going to open one before COVID, actually. This is a story that people don't know, is that right before COVID, I was involved with a third club that I was about to open.
We have to mention that there's also Mesro.
Okay,
right?
I should mention that.
Yeah.
There's Smalls Jazz Club, and then in 2014 we opened Mesro Jazz Club. Mesro is exactly across the street from Smalls, 163 West 10th Street. Mesro, it originally was just kind of meant to hold the overflow crowd from Smalls until they could get to their show. But what happened with Mesro is it took on a life of its own, which we didn't expect, because one thing, it has an unbelievable acoustical property in its room that is unparalleled. So that was something we didn't plan on, but it turns out to be a godsend. And then people really like it. It became much more of a little sophisticated, like, in my mind, I always thought of Bradley's as the most sophisticated New York jazz bar. When I was a kid, I sneak in there and be a fly on the wall. And so I always thought about those wood panels and those wood chairs, that wood bar, mahogany, and that nice piano, and the jazz and the hang. So that was kind of what Mesro was for me, meant to be. And now Mesro is so popular, people love it. And we've been running that for 7 or 8 years. Smalls is on 25 years at this point. But I was thinking about, my idea is this. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but I'm a dad now. This is something that happened to me later in life. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, and thank God, and she's wonderful. My wife is wonderful too. But I can't stay out late anymore.
Right.
I have to get up every morning with my little girl. So I was thinking, what if you had a daytime jazz club? Why does jazz have to happen at night? Why not a 3 p.m. concert or a 5 p.m. concert or even a 7 p.m. concert, so that dads can come out to concerts and hang out? You don't have to drink if they want soft drinks, or but just like so that was the idea. And we had a spot, we were ready to go, everything was set, and then COVID hit, and then we had to abandon all our plans because it was just untenable without any income. But if New York keeps the way it is, I'm keeping my eyes out for maybe a possible thing if I have the energy for it. That's my...
Love it. I love it.
But besides that, I'm just playing music all the time. That's my the thing I love doing more than anything, is playing the piano. I have a great trio right now with Peter Washington and Joe Farnsworth. We're recording as well.
Wow.
I don't know if I'll tour anytime soon because I just don't like traveling that much. That's my problem. But I play at Mesro all the time, so people can come see me. I mean, I'll go on a tour. I have to wait till my girl's a little older so I can split for a while. But definitely when I'm older, I'll do nothing but playing. I'll leave this club to younger hands and just play the piano all the time, just like your mom.
Ah, wonderful. And on that note, thank you so much for your time today.